inside a seized Nitro engine from Thunder Tiger. What's up, guys? Welcome to part 2 of my Thunder Tiger Tomahawk MX restoration project. I'm about to get down and dirty, gotta do some work right here. So what am I gonna do? That's right, I'm gonna join the Nitro gang once again. Gotta of course put on the bandana, because when I work on Nitro projects at this point, yep, I need the bandana, gotta get down and dirty. Let me give you a quick catch up, tell you what I did in the first part. I had to Dremel out the engine. The engine right now is in my hands. We removed the coolant head, we took a look inside. The piston is relatively good. The current condition of this engine is catastrophic. It is seized. In reality, it probably just has a lot of oil that is gummed up the front main bearings here in the crankcase. I will be removing the pull start. We will be looking at the one-way bearing. I will be removing the back plate. We're going to take a look inside the engine. Hopefully this should be repairable and restorable. Now off camera, I washed the fuel tank. It was really bad. What you really need to know on these old RCs and whether they're worth repairing is how much money you gotta spend in making this thing run. For me, I always check whether the engine is actually clean inside. I don't really care about the fact that it is seized. That's probably repairable. The second thing I look for, other than functional electronics, this thing already has functional electronics, I showed you in the prior part, is the fuel tank and whether there are any leaks or not. This particular fuel tank, let me show you exactly how I test it. This is going to be a really easy way of knowing whether you have an air leak or not. You take one of the hoses, right? You stick them in your mouth like this. And then you blow out the other one. Now, it's better really that you suck it. So, here we go.
Let's get ready to suck it!
So one way or another, somebody was sucking it.
We got 2 words for ya!
Even people who didn't watch wrestling in the mid-90s or late 90s would go around telling their friends to suck it. You had the crotch chop and the X and the Mike Tyson thing because he couldn't do a crotch.
What I just did by sucking air out of one of the hoses here and holding the other one shut with my finger is I attempted to create a vacuum. Hopefully, if there's any air leaks, you know, there will not be a vacuum because air will find its way through either the fuel tank cap or maybe one of the fittings, or maybe the tank itself has a hole somewhere here. Now, if you're looking to restore an older Nitro RC, it might not even be this one. Fuel tanks are not the easiest to find. A lot of times people wind up buying donor cars, spare parts cars, just to get elements like this that are original. This one seems to be in really good condition. At the bottom here where the fuel pickup is, all the way at the lowest point, there is a filter. Really nice to see. A lot of times people install filters in the fuel line itself. That is also a good idea because they are washable. Filters that are in tanks like here are permanent filters. There's really no way of cleaning them, but they do a good enough job. This engine seems to be in pretty good condition. I don't see any scoring on the sleeve inside at all. On the right here is my vintage HPI Nitro RS42, one of my favorite RCs overall. Notice the fuel tank design. It is just a basic rectangle. You guys see what is going on as I removed the Thunder Tiger fuel tank? There is a portion of it that is literally under the front drive shaft. Look at the design of this fuel tank. It is not just a basic rectangle like the one on the HPI. It is a fairly intricate racing style design. In fact, I know that Serpents use these kind of fuel tanks, which basically are meant to distribute weight from left to right in the chassis. The HPI one also, if you notice, has a primer here in the top. Now this one does not have any air leaks, but I gotta say the fuel tank design on the Thunder Tiger is superior. In this case, I'm going to be reusing the fuel lines because they seem to be in adequate condition. The only thing I notice is the ends are a little bit frayed outside. So what I like to do is just trim off the pieces that are bad. What happens is over time, you know, when your fuel tubing is on, let's say the carb like this, yeah, it's basically getting expanded here at the end. So what you want to do is just trim off the piece that's a little bit abnormal, just like right over here. You know, you don't need to do too much. And now you've repaired the fuel tubing and you should not have any kind of issues. In this case, it's discolored because it was in the exhaust here. So I'm just going to trim that piece off as well. There we go. basically just like brand new. You could do the same thing to the fittings on the fuel tank, but they look to be okay. I'm not gonna even remove them. I haven't even removed them from the car as it sits right now. Time to tear into the engine. The coolant head's already removed. The bottom looks to be in, once again, adequate condition. The glow plug seems normal. Now I'm going to remove the pull start. I'm going to avoid removing the exhaust header for now because I'm not sure if I have another exhaust gasket. So for now, we're just going to keep this on the car. All you have is just 4 screws in the back right over here. You know, you got to use your really, really good tools because you don't want to strip any of these things. There's really tight tolerances here, and you're going to be having a good time with your Dremel in case you do a bad job here. Here we go, moment of truth. Everything is off on the pull start cover. Okay, yep, there it is. Pull start is in good condition. Let me just make sure that it in fact works. Yep. Make sure that the mechanism does not come out. There is a very tightly wound spring inside, and you don't want to have to be putting this back in. This is our one-way bearing. I can tell as I spin it one way, it stops and it does not go the other direction. This is exactly what you want. Okay, we can remove that. There's only one way you could reinsert it back in, so nothing to worry about. And if I forget, I could just watch my own video later to see how this was installed in the first place. We now have 4 more screws. I'm going to remove these. These are usually a little bit tough to remove. Oh, well, that one was really easy. Came right out. This one was really easy as well. Let's see, got 2 left. Easy as cake. Of course, not baking a cake, that's always tough. I mean eating the cake. That's pretty easy. Time to remove the back plate with the starting shaft assembly. Yep, there you go, it just slides out. First look inside the engine. I have seen better engines, but you know what? There is some oil in there. Now, that's probably just the after-on oil I tried to put in because it did go down the carb earlier. But yeah, it doesn't seem that bad. The back plate, you know, I could just clean this up. You got to be really careful with these gaskets here in the back because finding these as replacements is not that easy. Inside, a seized Nitro engine from Thunder Tiger. Yeah, nothing is really broken. It's probably just the front main bearings. So let's see, I can't even spin this over with my hands. It is seized. I can't do it. At this point, I'm now going to remove the carb. There's just a nut here. You don't turn it out, and the carb should just come out on its own, basically. Once you twist it a little bit like this, and it'll slide out. There we go. The carb itself has more than enough difficulty moving, so I'm going to have to probably clean and rebuild this as well. Time to remove the exhaust now. I just got to remove these 2 screws. Alright, the exhaust manifold is out. I could probably just reuse this gasket here, it's no big deal. Oh man, look at this. This thing has a cool 2-shoe clutch. I thought it was going to be like a circular type of thing, but yeah, this thing looks pretty beefy actually. I like it. Ideally, you would want to remove the piston from the inside of the sleeve here, but since I cannot spin the crankshaft over at all, I don't really want to damage anything here. So I'm just going to start by putting in some WD-40 here, and maybe in a little while, it will do something, hopefully, right? You know, it's not that easy. I just need to really kind of spin it over a little. Oh, wow. I'm beginning to see a little movement. You guys see that? Man. This thing is a miracle. Right. I'm beginning to see some movement, and I'm really not even spinning it that much. Yeah, it's beginning to rock back and forth right there. All I need to do is just make sure it's adequately oiled on top, you know, and then I can attempt to maybe remove the piston. I might not even have to. It's beginning to free up a good amount now, actually. Yeah, I'm really not applying that much effort to the crankshaft at this point. Man, the miracles of WD-40. By the way, here's a pop quiz. What does WD stand for? I'm going to tell you right now. It's Water Displacement Formula 40. There have been many attempts on figuring out how to formulate a proper water displacement mechanism, and here it is. WD-40, attempt number 40. Success. Guys, this thing is spinning over pretty freely now. You see that? I'm not really having that hard of a time at this point. Alright Nitro gang, thanks for making it to the end of part 2 on my Thunder Tiger restoration. Now one of my gang members did point out that I had the model slightly wrong. Thank you so much for that. This is not the VX, this is actually the MX. And what I said before about it having a 1-speed transmission that I think was not original and having a pipe that I think was not original is incorrect. This in fact is completely original, other than the fact that it has the HPI X pattern wheels. I'm going to put some screenshots here from what I found from 2012 on Tower Hobbies. This thing was actually sold back then in Tower Hobbies and it was $289. That was significantly cheaper than the original price. It seems this was the lower rated version with a single speed. There were only 3 differences between the MX model, which this is it, and the VX model. The 2-speed transmission, the pipe, and some aluminum pieces in the toe blocks in the back and in the front. Otherwise, it is exactly the same chassis. But guys, yep, you gotta admit it, it cleaned up pretty nice. The fuel tank is good to go, everything is fine. In the next part, what I'm going to do is I am going to continue cleaning the motor. Now, I've decided that I probably will be removing the sleeve next time, but it's a little bit tight inside the engine block. So, I'm going to use this trick. I've seen someone else do it on YouTube. I don't quite remember who it was at this point anymore. Maybe it was Botogel or one of the other Nitro gang members in the group. I'm not sure. Basically, you put in a zip tie because it is relatively soft and plastic. It cannot score the sleeve inside the engine. And then you're just going to insert it through the exhaust port. There are other ways to do it, but I'm going to use the exhaust port. And I'm just basically going to turn the crankshaft and it should slide the sleeve out of the engine itself. I don't want to use pliers to remove it, so we're going to do that in the next video. So thanks so much for watching, gang members. Till next time, later.